Greetings, my followers. We're Meckanimal, and today we're going to discuss the topic of bicep tendon inflammation. In the light of my recent post about the weighted pull-up, many of you guys have raised the concern of the bicep tendon inflammation, and that said, it was suggesting that many of you guys are skeptical about relying or including the weighted pull-up as a means of conditioning because you are afraid to induce some damage that may not be reversible, which is pretty understandable concern. But let me just reassure you that the weighted pull-up is pretty safe movement to use and is the greatest bicep muscle growth inducer that I can I can testify for, because beside the pull-up and the weighted pull-up and different variation of it, I can't think of any other exercise that I've used in my past 10 years journey of conditioning. So here is why your bicep may be inflamed. The main reason, if not the only reason why your bicep tendon is inflamed, is because you were just not ready for it. And that being said, you should take your time to master the regular pull-up first before you include any type of weighted variation, before you decide to start stacking up the weight. And a lot of time people are impatient and they are overwhelmed by ego and tend to add up the weight way quicker than the tendon can adapt to. So it's common knowledge, it's physiology 101, that the muscle will adapt much faster than the tendon will. And in body weight movement especially, it's very common for the tendons to get inflamed because it's involved with a bunch of compound movements, and in those compound movements, the compound movement are so intense that it takes a while for the tendon to adapt to to the movement before you can progress. And what happened in the loaded pull-up movement is that once you get strong, you are tempted to go fast, and you will feel that you can manage the weight at the moment, at the current time. But the problem is, as you go up the weight, in spite of being strong enough to maneuver the weight, the tendon has not adapted yet to being able to endure a whole share of volume that's needed to progress any further, and thus the occurrence of tendinitis, which is very, very common. But for you to use that as the reason for that tendinitis to deter you from using the weighted pull-up completely at all is quite inconceivable. And my suggestion would be for you to prepare yourself, to prehab yourself properly before you take on this such endeavor of weighted pull-up. And you do that by making sure that your form is top-notch, because in the execution of the pull-up you have many muscles that are involved, and it's pretty easy to cheat on the leverage to compensate for the weakness of the muscles that are supposed to do the job right. So you will see a lot of time people, because they lack of scapular engagement, they tend to overuse the arm muscles while the scapula and the back musculature is not stable enough to load a good amount of tension that's required for you to go up without exerting or overusing your biceps or your brachioradialis. So this is usually what happens when your form is not right, and that happens as well when the load is too much. So it's codependent. They're codependent pretty much. The load and the form. One will break the other. The other will break the first. So you want to make sure that your form is on point and that you don't go up the weight too fast. And if you happen to do everything right and you reach a point where the inflammation is settling, you want to back off and let your body do the magic. It's all good to take some time off the movement or rotate a different variation of the pull-up, a different grip, for example, for you to acquire a different stimulus. And this could be one way to go about it. But I could go about how to solve bicep tendonitis or elbow tendonitis in a different video. So yes, I've had my share of tendonitis, which is common when you push your body to the edge and when you want to achieve greatness, but it's not required to trigger tendonitis when things are done right. So for the average person who just trying to get better, I would suggest you to set your ego aside and take your time to build the strength required to take on the loaded bodyweight movements such as the weighted pull-up. So yes, I do the weighted pull-up. It's pretty fine. It doesn't really irritate me. Beside the common soreness that happens out of overuse, which is the reason why deloaded are required. When you reach that point, you let your body reset itself and heal up whatever stress you and damage you've induced to it. And yeah, that's that. So pain wise, I mean, for those who have mentioned that the bicep tendon was inflamed due to the weighted pull-up, I would want you to kind of troubleshoot. It might be another exercise that you are using in conjunction with the weighted pull-up that's making your biceps react that way. Because when doing a regular weighted pull-up, it's hard for me to believe that that can escalate to an excruciating pain of the bicep tendon that alone. And if that's the case, really, that's the only movement you were doing when experiencing that type of bicep pain, that must mean that you're just not ready for it. And I will take my time to build the tendon strength with using the body weight movement and performing it to the perfect to the best of your ability with the most perfect form that you can possibly do. And then once you master the movement, you can start loading up the weight and take your time. Even like 10 pounds is sufficient enough with many repetitions to trigger some type of growth and strength over time. So volume should be really carefully tailored to your fitness level. So don't just jump on it and try to mimic your favorite fitness guy or YouTuber or influencer or whatever it is that does this and that, because you don't know what their background is, you don't know how long they've been training, what kind of substance they are on, and all kind of stuff like that. So you want to stay in your lane and be careful about how much work you push your body through, because trust me, that has to be the only reason why your bicep tendon is inflamed. The weighted pull-up is a great exercise for the development of your bicep. And don't let the idea that the inflammation of the bicep be why you stay away from from using the weighted pull-up. It is a great exercise when done right. So that being said, I hope that I explained extensively how you should troubleshoot the bicep tendon pain origin, and hopefully in a different video we can talk about all kind of strategies and technique that can be used to overcome the bicep tendonitis and still be able to work out through some type of tendonitis depending on the level of inflammation. Because one thing is sure, you don't want to stop completely. You want to find ways to keep progressing while managing the issue, and that comes with experience. So I'm not telling you guys to work through pain. It just comes with knowing actually what you're suffering from and how to take care of the issue. All right, I'm tired. I need to go get some sleep. Everything is and will always be the Meckanimal way. Hope that I answered quite clearly the issue about the bicep tendon inflammation. So yes, don't be afraid of the weighted pull-up. It is a great exercise. You just have to swallow your ego and take your time to build the bicep tendon strength. Peace.